Welcome back to the First Team Fantasy Podcast. In this episode, we will be covering the Sunday afternoon previews as well as the Sunday night and the Monday night game. To start it off with my first game, should be a very... Actually, maybe not. It's the Seahawks at the Niners. And the Niners just dominated the Eagles. So,
As they did with the Seahawks in their last meeting.
Exactly. And the Niners defense is just coming together at the right time of the season. They are still the second best rushing defense in the league, only giving up 79 yards a game. They're 15th against the pass, giving up 219 yards. And the Seahawks are coming into this one pretty banged up. Geno is apparently a game-time decision. Pete Carroll wasn't even confident enough to say he would play with a groin injury, something that is easy to re-aggravate when moving. Ken Walker will play with his oblique injury, and they feel good about Charbonnet playing with his knee injury. So, to start with the Seahawks side of the ball, I do not plan on starting Geno. And it scares me to start Ken Walker if Charbonnet plays as well, because he's coming back from that oblique. We've seen Ken Walker, I don't want to say he's injury prone, but he has been prone to injuries so far in his career. I just don't know how that will shake out with the snaps and the total shares. With our two teams on bye, we're missing James Conner and Brian Robinson. So a lot of teams, you're not missing a crazy amount. Conner had a good week, but, he'd been missing a lot of the season. So there should be other options out there. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable starting Ken Walker or Charbonnet in this one. I really like DK Metcalf in this one. I think he's going to have a good game. Now, that's if Geno plays. If Geno does not play and it's Drew Lock, it kind of changes a little bit because I feel like they're going to have to run the ball more. So if it's Drew Lock, I feel a little more comfortable with the running backs. I just don't. I mean, we kind of saw DeAndre Swift get bottled up a little bit in the Niners defense, and that's a much better offensive line than this one. So I like DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett's a guy where if you're going to throw him in your flex, you just got to hope the volume's there because JSN has been creeping into his shares a little bit as the season's progressed, but I still feel comfortable with Tyler Lockett as like a flex play. In a 3-receiver league, a 2-receiver, you should at least have better options. But in a 3-receiver, I do like Lockett. In JSN, you're going to have to sit this one out. I don't feel comfortable enough season on the line to rely on JSN just yet.
Fair enough.
And the Niners are easy. You start everyone. You start Purdy, you start McCaffrey, you start Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. There's no Eli Mitchell, so whatever spell he had on, McCaffrey's snaps, which was very minimal already, is gone. It'll be Jordan Mason instead. The Niners' defense is tricky because they have games where they give up like 10 points, but their defense doesn't get a bunch of interceptions or fumbles, or even sacks for that matter. So it's just tough to put them out there, but I don't hate it.
I agree. I think especially if Drew Lock starts, they will be...
It's an absolute start. Yeah. But that's all I had for this one, unless you had something else to add. The Niners are a very easy team to cover. They just do what they do.
No. Go right along into the next one, which I have very well could be the game of the week. The Bills heading into Kansas City to play the Chiefs. The over-under in this one's 48.5. Chiefs are favored by 1 point, or 1.5 points. So, predicted to be a very high-scoring, close game.
Yeah.
The Bills, while have been kind of in turmoil lately, are 6-6. If you look at the stats, you wouldn't really see that.
Yeah.
Their offense, they're scoring 27.3 points per game, which is 5th in the league. Passing for 260.9 yards, which is 5th in the league, and rushing for 122.3, which is 10th. Their defense is only giving up 18.9 points per game, which is 5th in the league. 203.2 yards through the air is all they're giving up, which is 8th, and 116.7 on the ground, which is 20th. Yet they are somehow middle of the road.
Yeah.
So it's a very
it's a huge week for them.
See. Yeah, it is. This week pretty much determines whether or not they stay alive.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you lose, you're 6-7. You've got a lot of teams like the Texans. They're playing the Jets. The Colts play. I mean, Colts and Cincinnati are both, in basically the same position. So you can't afford to lose this week if you're the Bills. So with that, regardless of how good the Chiefs' defense has been, 17.3 points per game allowed, which is 3rd in the league, only giving up 183 yards through the air, which is 6th, and 114 on the ground, which is 19th. I'm rolling Josh Allen, rolling Stephon Diggs. I think James Cook, he's been good. I think you roll him out there. Now, Gabe Davis. I don't think with your season on the line you can afford to put Gabe Davis out there. It's a big game, and he's been known to appear in big games. But with your season on the line, he could very well give you 0 points.
Yeah.
Dalton Kincaid, I'm starting regardless of Dawson Knox's status. He has been pretty vital to this team, and I don't see that role going away. And, I mean, that's about it for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
For the Chiefs, you're starting Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco won't be playing in this one. So, if you're in need of a running back, I guess you could start Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
He will be starting.
Yeah.
It's going to be rough, but yeah, there's an option. Travis Kelce, obvious start as well. I think you start Rashee Rice.
Yes.
Especially if they just lost another one of their many receivers. Justin Ross just got suspended. So that's one less mouth to feed, which is fortunate. And yeah, Harrison Butker. I don't know about the Chiefs' defense in this one. They might get some sacks and whatnot, but I do see it being a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
Which are ones that we would prefer to avoid. But yeah, start your stars, and then like Rashee Rice, if you need to start Edwards-Helaire and Butker.
Yeah. The only thing I want to add is, Pacheco's been running the ball pretty efficiently. I don't see Edwards-Helaire doing that. So this might be one of those games where Mahomes has to pass it 40-plus times, which hasn't happened too many times this season. But this very well might be one of those games. Oh, here we go. The Vikings at the Raiders, man. It's going to be an interesting one, to say the least. The Raiders' pass defense is still 13th in the league, giving up 216 yards. They're 25th against the rush, giving up 127 yards. And the Vikings have Justin Jefferson back. Of course, he comes back against the Raiders. Why not?
Yeah.
When I'm looking at guys to start, I've been big on Josh Dobbs, and he did just get Jetta's back, obviously. I don't mind the Josh Dobbs start. The only tough part about this one is, we've lost Sam Howell and Kyler Murray this week. So it just depends what your roster looks like. They don't have him projected inside the top 10. I think they have him projected a little lower than what he's actually going to get. I think this Vikings offense will be able to put up 24-plus points against this Raiders defense. But I guess we'll just have to see. But Josh Dobbs is a guy I am monitoring. Like if a guy like Trevor Lawrence ends up going out last second and your waiver wire is kind of bare, Josh Dobbs may be towards the top of that list. So just something to keep an eye on. But Madison, I like the start. The Raiders have made guys like A.J. Dillon look very capable, and I feel like they will do the same for Madison. Depends how much Ty Chandler gets worked in. It looked like he was going to be a 35-40% snap guy, and then it just went right back to Madison getting his lion's share. So even if he doesn't run it that efficiently against other teams, this is the Raiders. Everyone runs it efficiently against them. And then your receivers, obviously Justin Jefferson immediately back in the lineup. Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne, no. Brandon Powell is going to fade back to the abyss where he came from. And TJ Hawkinson is a very easy start.
Yeah.
And the Raiders side of the ball. Vikings are 18th against the pass. They give up 224 yards a game, and they're 7th against the rush, giving up 96 yards. Obviously, we're not starting Aiden O'Connell. He's shown a capability to get the ball to Davante Adams. And it's Davante Adams. We're obviously starting him and Josh Jacobs without hesitation. Would you rather start Jacoby Myers or Tyler Lockett this week?
Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. It just scares me. I know he gets worked in, and he's the obvious number 2 there, but yeah, in again, 3 receiver leagues, yes. 2 receiver leagues, you shouldn't have to start him because the teams on bye, you're really missing Hollywood, Scary Terry, Jahan Dotson, Curtis. Like, you're not missing crazy big name guys or even a lot of guys. So, yeah, Jacoby and a 3 receiver I like. A 2 receiver with the flex, I'm a little more hesitant on it. Josh Jacobs, even though the Vikings are good against the run, he's going to get volume no matter what. He's the only running back used at all in Las Vegas. And then Michael Mayer, doesn't get enough volume yet. And if you're still holding Daniel Carlson, let him go, dude. I know the Raiders have been scoring a little more of recent, but it's just not going to be a consistent thing as long as Aiden O'Connell's the quarterback. So, and I don't really like either defense in this one. Maybe the Vikings. More than the Raiders. But
that's fair. I feel like it's pretty simple. All right, on to the final afternoon game. I have another divisional matchup. Actually, one that could be pretty important. The Broncos are heading into Los Angeles to take on the Chargers, and the over-under in this one's 44. Chargers are favored by 2.5. Yeah. Denver's offense is scoring 21.9 points per game, 183 yards through the air, and 115.8 on the ground. Their defense is giving up 25.2 points per game, 235.6 yards through the air, and 149.7 on the ground. Granted, like we talk about every week, you have to pay attention to the fact that a lot of these numbers are skewed from that Miami game, which was just ridiculous. The offense of the Chargers is scoring 22.9 points per game, 240.9 yards through the air, and 97.7 yards on the ground. They are giving up 21.5 points per game on defense, 265.8 yards through the air, and 113.8 on the ground. So when we get down to it, I don't think you should need to start Russell Wilson. And if you do, I don't think it should be that bad.
Yeah.
The Chargers give up a ton through the air. I think Cortland Sutton's a great start. I think if you are in a deeper league and you need to start Jerry Jeudy, I don't think he should have too bad of a week. Chargers are food on defense as far as the pass goes, even though their run game or their run defense is not terrible this year as it was last year. I still like the Javonte Williams start, especially with Samaje Perine being in a questionable state. I think, Adam Troutman, any of the tight ends on Denver, you're not really looking at.
No.
If you want to start Will Lutz, I don't think that's awful. I think there should be a decent amount of points scored in this game. Justin Herbert is an obvious go. I think Austin Eckler, despite disappointing weeks, I think he should perform this week. He should get back on track this week. If not, then wow, that's very disappointing.
Yeah.
But I think you got to roll him. I think Keenan Allen's a great start. Not really fond of Gerald Everett, Darnold Parham, or Quentin Johnston. And if you need to start Dicker, then all right. Don't really prefer any of the defenses in this one. And that's really all.
Dicker the kicker. The Sunday night showdown. Yet again, the Eagles and the Cowboys.
They finally got a primetime game right.
One of them. One of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Eagles will go into Dallas this time and take on the Cowboys, who are 5th against the pass, give up 181 yards, and 12th against the rush, giving up 106 yards. Really quick before we get into it, you think the Eagles win this game?
I don't know.
I think the Cowboys might take this one. I really do, which is crazy. But also, the Eagles just got the crap beat out of them, so they should come in with a vengeance. So, but as for who we're starting, very obvious choices on the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, you have to start. A.J. Brown, you have to start. Devonta Smith, you have to start. DeAndre Swift, despite his week last week, I feel like you have to roll him out there. It's just tough to imagine. I mean, it depends how deep your roster is, but the average fantasy player does not have the luxury of benching DeAndre Swift, who has given you double digits almost every single week. So, he had a bad week. It is what it is. Dallas Goedert will play 4 weeks after fracturing his forearm. I don't know what medicine they have in Philadelphia. This is coming from someone who has broken both of their arms, one arm multiple times. And it took like 6 weeks to even get a cast off. And then another couple to get strength back. And he's going to go play football after 4 weeks? And a fracture is worse than a clean break. It's even worse. I don't know how I feel about Goedert. It's tough for me to imagine him having serious involvement in this game 4 weeks removed from a fractured forearm. And it's scary if he does not have that involvement and you played him. Now, it depends. Because obviously he's missed 4 weeks. So if you had him and you stored him on your IR or on your bench, I assume you picked up a replacement, depending who that replacement is. If it's a Taysom Hill who's possibly, if he plays. If you're able to grab an Njoku for whatever reason off the waiver wire. It's a case by case. I'm not saying do not start him, but I'm saying I have him in fantasy output around the number 10. Like what I think he'll finish this week. I don't see him having heavy volume. But Jake Elliott's a great start. Again, it's one where I don't think you can start the Philadelphia defense in this one.
No. Yeah, no. On to the Cowboys side of the ball. They're averaging 32.3 points per game, which is first in the NFL, 263.4 yards through the air, which is third, and 117 on the ground, which is 11th. Starting Dak, starting CeeDee, starting Brandon Cooks, starting Jake Ferguson, and starting Tony Pollard. Also, Brandon Aubrey. So it's fairly simple. I mean, I wouldn't really prefer to start the Cowboys defense this week in a week where you probably or definitely need to win. So, but I don't know. I'd probably bench them and drop someone else.
Yeah, store their defense for sure.
And hold on to them, but wouldn't use them this week. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry with them. Just keep starting the guys that have been doing well by you.
Yeah.
And that'll be all for that one.
Well, we can close it out with the Green Bay Packers fighting Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants on Monday night.
One of the Monday night games, yes.
Yes. I don't see how even if it was Daniel Jones, how they thought this was a good Monday night game, but whatever. The Giants' defense has been very subpar. They're 20th against the pass, 228 yards given up, and 28th against the rush, 136 yards. Now, the Packers have some injuries. Christian Watson is out with the hamstring injury. Aaron Jones is questionable with the knee injury. Matt LaFleur said he should be in.
Right.
I actually like the Jordan Love start this week.
Yeah.
He's someone I have like a little above a Josh Dobbs this week because he has just been balling. But again, he will be without Christian Watson. That hypothetically shouldn't hurt him too much, but we will see. If Aaron Jones does miss, I really like the A.J. Dillon start. If Aaron Jones is in, I don't know how I feel. Like, how much work do you think Aaron Jones is going to get if he plays?
Probably like 30%, same as last time when he came off injury.
Yeah.
I don't see him getting too much, so I probably roll AJ Dillon.
Yeah. And then your receivers, with Christian Watson going out, Jaden Reed immediately becomes the wide receiver one. He has been the most used. And Romeo Doubs becomes a bit more of a viable play with no Christian Watson. You have your other guys, Dontavion Wicks, Malik Heath, that I just don't trust enough. And Tucker Kraft, I'm not starting him either. I think there's other tight ends. But, of course, Tucker Kraft is a rookie, which makes sense for the Green Bay Packers. Because if you've played more than 3 years in the league, outside of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, you will not play on this team. And then I don't really like Anders Carlson. He's been very underwhelming fantasy-wise on the season. But the Packers' defense, I do like this week.
Yeah. On the Giants side of the ball, Saquon Barkley. That's it. Packers are giving up 136.2 yards on the ground per game, which is 30th in the league. Just start Saquon, and yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be
just genuinely, I'm not rolling the dice on any Giants wide receivers. Even, Jalen Hyatt's been doing better. I don't necessarily want to take a chance on that and risk ruining my whole entire season. Or same with Tommy DeVito. So, yeah.
I absolutely agree with that. And that'll take us to our final game. One that should have fireworks on one side of the ball. It is the Titans at the Dolphins. The Titans is fairly simple fantasy-wise. You have to roll Derrick Henry. And D-Hop, since Will Levis has taken over, he had 34, then 10, then 5, then 15, then 7, and then 18. Proceed with caution. The Dolphins' defense has been getting better, especially with Jalen Ramsey back for them. But this is DeAndre Hopkins. Again, 2 receiver with a flex, maybe at the flex. I'm considering it. 3 receiver in a flex, you're probably having to start him in hope that Will Levis is able to get the ball at least somewhat to his number 1 receiver. It could be a game where the Dolphins come out and smack him in the face and go up 21-0 early, and they're having to pass a bunch. So,
yeah,
I do like D-Hop for that reason. And I guess maybe Nick Folk. I don't know how much the Titans score.
Good point. Dolphins side, very easy. Start Tua, start Reek, start Waddle. Mostert, sure. H.N. I mean, yeah, if you want to start Jason Sanders, go ahead. Wouldn't, I guess, hate starting the Dolphins defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it. And with that, I mean, that one is just so simple. There's no reason to even think about benching your Dolphins.
The Dolphins
this
are like
week. They're
the
going,
most hype. They're so high powered. It's
well, they're going for the number 1 seed in the AFC. They've got a lot to play for against a team that's been spiraling. So it should be, like you said, fireworks on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
Don't want to overanalyze anything because there's not too much to look at there. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, with that, we will be done with this one. Like we said, guys, if you need any help with anything, always comment. We're always available for you to reach out. And yeah, thank you once again for all the support. Derek, you want to say it?
Come back next time. Take more ups to the first team.
Yes, indeed.